Welcome to a brief set of videos outlining the functionality and some tips in using SketchUp. The aim of these videos is just to give you a start so that you can start making some simple models, and then as you get more screen time, develop proficiency and begin learning some of the productivity tools and how to actually get faster using the software. Now, just as a quick overview of SketchUp, the application itself is usually available in most of the labs at the University of Queensland, but the help and the overview of the application can be found at SketchUp.com, and there you can find that there's actually two versions of SketchUp. Sketchup Pro is the one that's on most of the labs, and it's probably the one that most offices and professions use because of the enhanced functionality and interoperability between other software packages. Now, there is a free version which is called Sketchup Make, and you can download that, model and create things. The limitations though are that it's intended for non-commercial applications, and in addition you can see the actual comparison between the two products, that the SketchUp Make doesn't allow you to import CAD files, export CAD or PDFs, which limits the functionality in a professional environment quite considerably. And when we're exporting line work drawings for reports and so on, it can become a bit limiting. So we're going to sort of proceed on the assumption that you have access to SketchUp Pro. Now, the great thing with SketchUp is that it is very simple to use. It has a large user community, so there's lots of SketchUp assets out there that you can tap into to help develop your model very quickly and to populate it with objects that are pre-made. It also has a really good geolocation tool, so you can very accurately position your projects in the world using a Google Maps interface, which is reasonably accurate and quite intuitive and very easy to use. SketchUp is generally used as what we'd call a quick and dirty modeling application. It's not used as a documentation tool or a sort of project delivery platform. It works best when it's used for conceptual design and sketch design, quick visualizations, and also testing of some environmental performances, so we can start to map shadows and also view lines, scale and general appearance and so on. It produces sort of very good, I guess almost a illustration quality standard model that works really well in design reports and so on. It can be used to get high-end sort of rendered models, but again it's starting to extend beyond its design usage, and you'd be better off using a more professional CAD package to do things like that. The other thing is that it's not used as a multi-user workflow, which means that only one person can be working on the model at once. In general terms, this is not a limitation to an individual designer just quickly mocking up some ideas, but for larger, more complex projects which are generally documented and developed by a team of practitioners, this is a major limitation, and the reason why SketchUp is used primarily at the starting end or for quick studies, and that more professional level CAD programs are used for proper documentation. The geometry that SketchUp produces is very simple, and it's not I guess as sophisticated in ruling curves and so on. It tends to break it down into facets and polylines, so its translation between applications is limited in this instance. And the other thing is that as you add more and more to the model can tend to get quite heavy and slow your computer down quite considerably. So it's best not to sort of overwork the application and just use it kind of what it's designed for. Now, what we're going to do is we'll just quickly launch an instance of SketchUp. Now, when you start SketchUp the first time, what you want to do is make sure that you're using the correct template. In this instance, we're going to be using an architectural design template in millimeters. So when we launch that up, we'll get our basic workspace, and as you can see, SketchUp is a pure 3D working environment. It doesn't use interface between sort of orthographic and 2D views to 3D views to generate models. It has a single view window that you always work in 3D. There are certain camera views that allow you to look at it orthographically from the top, bottom and side, but essentially it is a pure 3D learning environment, which is different to most other professional CAD applications. Now, SketchUp works best when developing things orthographically, that is, along the XYZ plane. And as you orientate yourself around the SketchUp view window and draw into different elements, it's important to keep to pay attention to the predictive XYZ, or green for the Y direction, red for the X, and blue for the Z direction, so that you're always drawing in the correct, I guess, alignment that you're intending to, because sometimes when you're working in 3D, it's easy to get lost within the interface. What we're going to do in this demonstration is just draw two simple houses side by side on two allotments, and just to show some of the functionality of the visualization and testing tools. Now, I'm going to set up a quick site here. So I'm going to make it 15 meters by 40 meters, and just pull up a rectangle. So most of the tools in the default window can be pulled down through the top icons through here, but there's another set of tools that are more of an expanded set through the pull down menu at the top through here. Now, it's important to pay attention to these side panels as well, because they've got a lot of really important information. Now, in this instance, we've got layers, shadows, scenes, and we'll be using most of these, as well as the entity info. So make sure that you've got those lined up on the default tray on this right hand side. Now, it's super important to use your layers effectively, because it's the way that you can navigate complex models quite easily, and in addition it allows you to control the view so that if you can turn things on and off to sort of build a narrative that will then go into your final reports. Adding layers is very simple. You just use the plus and minus button through here. Note that you'll always have a layer 0, you can't get rid of that, but you can just keep adding layers in addition to that, and then rename them. So in this instance, I'm going to call this the site. Just going to call this site. Now, currently the layer 0 is the active layer, so anything that I do now will be automatically dumped into that layer. Now, I want to actually start producing the site here in that site layer. Now, if I click on this element through here, you notice whenever we want to select something in SketchUp, we need to make sure that we're selecting everything in that element. So if I click once, you'll notice it highlights the surface. Click twice and it'll highlight the surface and the edges. So when you see everything highlighted as blue, it means you've got everything there. Now you notice up in this entity info, which I've pulled down through there, you can see that it's currently, the site is in layer 0. So I'm going to just move that to the site layer, and now if we have a look at that element again, you can see it's in the site. Now I'm just going to leave it there for a sec, and then you can come back and we'll keep developing up this simple model.